Kane will take on LaSalle at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. That'll be at 7:30. That is sports for now. Time to return to Live Mike with Mike Romigh here on Beaver County Radio.
Welcome to Live Mike with Mike Romigh, presented by Heritage Valley Health System, the show that talks about what's happening in Beaver County, along with news and weather with Curtis Walsh and sports with Matt Durzick. And now, here is the host of the show, Mike Romigh.
Well, because of the events that occurred more than a month ago now in East Palestine, Ohio, and everyone's concerned about the environment and the air that they breathe, it's a good opportunity to come on and have a guest come on and talk about what it is you're breathing in. And even if you're not a resident of East Palestine, Ohio, or Darlington, PA, you're trapped indoors all winter long, and you don't have much ventilation, and it messes with your sinuses, and your eyes get watery, and you don't know what's happening or how to prevent this from happening. And so we asked a guest to join us this morning to discuss these things. Nicholas Napp is with us, and he has a product called Nosy. Do I have that right?
That's correct.
All right. Welcome to WBVP and WMBA, Nicholas.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me.
Appreciate
Great
it.
to be here.
Off the air, we were talking, and you are a product of the UK.
I am, yes.
But have been in the United States for 26 years now.
I think so, yeah. Coming up on 27.
It's hard to imagine that you lived anywhere else, right?
Certainly get used to it, yes.
All right. So you're obviously well aware of what was happening in East Palestine.
Indeed.
And what people continue to go through. But you came up with this product, this program, a long time before East Palestine occurred. Because why?
Yeah, so I have a consulting company, and we help companies tell their own story. That's mostly what we do. And I met a guy by the name of Tom Smith who runs a company called 3Flow. And what they do is they go into labs and they fix the ventilation, because there's this dirty little secret in lab world where a lot of the time, the guy that or gal that is commissioning the building just cranks everything up to maximum because they don't know how the systems are really going to perform. And so what this guy does and his crew, they come in, they measure the risk of whatever lab work you're doing, and then they put in variable controls so that the ventilation basically puts the right air in the right place at the right time. Now, his opener to me was a 150 slide PowerPoint deck, so it took a while to get to that simplicity. Mm-hmm. But in working with them, I found out just what a huge problem indoor air quality really is. And what was amazing to me about the work that Tom and his crew do is that typically not only do you get better air quality in safer labs, but they cut the energy usage by half because the systems are so overcranked. And so it's like a perfect have your cake and eat it. So that kind of started pulling me into this, okay, well, what's going on with indoor air quality? And it turns out that a lot of the issues go back to the 1970s, because when we had the big energy crisis, we started sealing up our buildings to make them more energy efficient, which is great, but it also means the air doesn't go anywhere. Mm-hmm. And just about everything we use, from paint to flooring to concrete, you name it, off gases over time and lets out volatile organic chemicals. And in an indoor space, those tend to build up. So, for example, if you've ever owned a new car and you've noticed that your windshield is getting kind of schmutzy, that is all the off-gassing from the plastics.
Schmutzy.
Grubby,
Okay.
You're like, I haven't done anything to it, but I need to clean the inside.
Right, exactly. Smoke in here, but it's still
exactly.
There's a film on the windshield.
Yep, and that film is actually the off-gassing from all the plastics in the car. So imagine that basically in your work building or your home.
And we're breathing it in.
Yeah, basically. And, all kinds of studies that show that that's generally not good for schools, which is an area that we've focused on a little bit so far. It directly affects student performance. Mm-hmm. And also, indoor air quality tends to be a bit of a proxy for what your ventilation looks like. Do you have good airflow? Yeah. Because if you have okay airflow, usually your indoor air quality is better. And just about everybody I've ever known can tell you, I suppose we should try this now live on the radio, which room in this building always gets too hot or too cold.
I think you were over there. There's a studio over there that we use for these Facebook and it's hot as blazes over there.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. And I bet everybody in this, like this is an open secret, right? Everybody in the building knows that that is the hot room,
Mm-hmm.
and yet it hasn't been fixed by whoever runs the building, mostly because they don't have the data,
Mm-hmm.
right? So what I came to realize after looking at this problem is that if you don't have the data for your entire building, you're basically guessing. And, this is why when you call out an HVAC person, often they have to visit 2 or 3 times to fix the problem because they don't have a nice roadmap saying, oh, the problem is exactly here.
Mm-hmm.
They just have kind of anecdotal stuff saying, well, it's a bit warm there and it's a bit cool here, which doesn't really help them. So we started looking at how can we get data for an entire building. And when you look at the existing solutions, most of them are designed for shiny new buildings.
Mm-hmm.
And it is way cheaper to put this stuff in if you haven't put sheetrock on the walls and you haven't painted. If you're coming back, like a building like this, and you got to tear holes and run cables and get a professional electrician in, you're looking at a lot of money and a lot of disruption. So our whole goal with Nosy was to make a product that literally, as one of our customers put it, lick it and stick it, basically, right?
Okay.
Make it as simple as possible. We've designed it so this is a prototype of the device, and literally you charge up the battery, you stick it on the wall, and you switch it on, and it self-configures. We take care of all of the configuration before we send it to you, and you put these in each of your rooms and in your corridors, and it will send you all of the data. And we have some tools to kind of visualize that and show you what's going on.
Mm-hmm. And
So,
there's a video on your website about that.
yeah, there is, and we're running a pilot in a middle school up in Rhode Island where I'm based, and there were 2 things that really stood out that we were able to share with their maintenance crew. One was that they had multiple areas of the school that were getting heated to 77 to 84 degrees because it's an old building with manual heating. And they just didn't know, so they can go in and turn down those radiators.
I'm going to go ahead and say that's the excuse I used to use for falling asleep in class. It was too hot in
Well, and in all seriousness, right, that is a very real problem, is that when the climate is off, whether it's indoor air quality or temperature, the students aren't going to pay attention
Right.
as well.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, of course, coming out of COVID as we are now, right? If the humidity is really low or really high, it increases the chance of spreading COVID. If your indoor air quality isn't good, that implies your ventilation isn't good, which means you're probably more likely to spread germs. And it wasn't until I became a parent that I really appreciated what the CDC do.
No, right. Well, and as you come into this building and you look at the building, it's an old building built probably in the early 1900s.
Yep.
You look around in a radio studio and our walls are covered with carpeting.
Right.
So we're breathing all that in. You're
Yep.
talking about homes and people will maybe annually, if they're lucky and they think about it, have their ductwork cleaned to
Right.
pull out all the dust that accumulates in there. But many of our homes are old, and you're talking about sheetrock or drywall as we know it here. And a lot of the homes are built with that sort of thing.
Exactly.
So we're
Exactly.
trapped in our homes or in our businesses inhaling all that stuff.
Yeah, and when you look at buildings across the U.S., the Department of Energy does this huge survey about every 5 years where they try and categorize all the commercial real estate in the U.S. And about 93%, I think it's either 93 or 96, was built before 2010. Now, that still feels pretty recent to me, but if you think about it from a technology point of view, that's basically when when the iPhone was really starting to take off. And a lot of the Internet of Things, as it's called, IoT, was enabled because we were making billions of smartphones, and that drove the cost down. So any building that was built before 2010 probably doesn't have that much in the way of sensors in there because they were too darned expensive.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And so what does this Nosy, what does your contraption do when you stick it on the wall?
So it measures a few different things. It measures temperature, humidity, pressure, indoor air quality. It also measures the ambient light levels. And then we've got a little motion sensor on the front so we can tell if somebody's in the room. And so, that way there's no cameras, there's no audio recording, but we can tell you, hey, we're pretty sure the lights are left on and nobody's in that room, right?
Mm-hmm.
You should switch that off.
Okay.
Or we can tell you, oh, this room's too hot, this room's too cold. But when you put the sensors all through your building, you get to see the trends too. So I'll give you an example. We were running a pilot in the building that my office is in, which is an old factory in Warren, Rhode Island. Used to be a handkerchief factory of all
Oh, okay.
things, and it's been converted to light industrial and office use.
So it went from blowing your nose on things to clearing your nose.
Exactly.
Okay. Mhm.
So, we put these up in the corridors to kind of measure what was going on. And there's a big loading dock in the downstairs area where they have the dumpsters. And there's a few food providers that are in the building. And in the summer, when they dump whatever leftovers they've got in the dumpsters, you would see the indoor air quality downstairs in the building really, go downhill rapidly.
Mhm.
And because we had sensors in the dumpster area and all the surrounding corridors, you could see it spreading. And what was interesting about that was the solution was to close the door, right? And then
Mhm.
suddenly it was way better. So, because a lot of the time when we talk about energy efficiency and indoor air quality, immediately the conversation turns to, oh, well, do a heat pump and do this $100,000 renovation. And for most of us, that may not be a practical solution, even if it is a good thing to do in the longer term. So what we're really trying to tease out is all those little secrets and nuances about your building that can be fixed by opening a window or plugging in a fan or closing a door, and have a tangible impact, whether that's saving you money directly or improving the air quality.
Is this device strictly for business, or is it residential as well?
So right now we're focused on the business market. We do get asked about residential a lot. So at some point I think we will do a version that is better suited to the home.
And again, a lot of these buildings are ancient buildings, so you're trying to determine in each room where the heat is or where the problem is as far as the airflow is concerned.
Yeah, exactly. So what we typically do is we take a floor plan for the building, and then we just overlay all the data that we're getting on top of that. So, and we tried to keep it simple because I get confused pretty easily looking at all this stuff.
Yeah.
We got reams of data. It gathers about 1,700 data points per sensor per day. So it's a lot of info. But what we do is just a color coding. So you'll see the floor plan, and if it's green, everything's great. If it's red, things are bad. And it's a scale in between there that's based on what it's actually measuring, behind the scenes.
Well, doesn't it seem as though you hold up the device again?
Yeah.
That there's not very much in terms of installation there.
No, and actually, most of the time we use these little command strips, and it literally just velcros to the wall. This version's the prototype, so the case is 3D printed, but we do have little tabs so you can screw mount and do something more permanent. But yeah, when we did the school pilot, we put 38 sensors in the middle school. I was the one doing it, the advantage of having being a one-man band here.
Yeah.
But it took me about 46 minutes, and I used a step stool. That was it. No other tools.
If I'm a business person, then how am I going to benefit from it? Is it economically going to help me, and also for my workers and the healthy environment in my business space? Even though many people are working from home, but businesses want their employees to come back in the office nowadays.
Right, exactly. And COVID's thrown up a lot of different challenges, right? I mean, there's the obvious one of indoor air quality, but also the way that we use office buildings has changed. Like you said, a lot of people are still working from home. I know I certainly do a lot of the time, as does my wife. And so the fact that we've got this little occupancy tracker, we can tell you as a building owner, you know what, that bathroom upstairs hasn't been used in the last week and a half, so don't send the cleaning crew there.
What's that say about your employees?
So we can help guide. Fundamentally, there's three things we do. We help you spot where you're wasting energy, which is a direct money savings. We help you track your indoor air quality so you can improve it. And I think there's growing awareness because of COVID of the importance of indoor air quality. And then you've got events as we've had here as well. And then the third thing is just streamlining the maintenance and servicing, because usually the data tells you, like, for example, when I was running this in my house, I had an AC unit that was dying, and you could see in the data, it was very clear because it just wasn't able to hit the right temperature consistently. So things like giving you a clue as to maintenance issues that are coming up, if you can fix it before it breaks catastrophically, it's usually a lot cheaper. So there's a bunch of ways that we help.
And so once it's installed and the business is seeing it, and they don't have to contact you, this is all information that they have at their
Exactly.
fingertip right
Yep.
there in the office.
Yep.
Then what do they do with that information? Do they contact you and say, hey, we're noting some trends here and we're seeing some problem spots. What can we do?
Yeah, so we wanted to make it as easy as possible, and the simple truth is that most smaller commercial buildings are managed by one or two people. They don't have a big IT team. They certainly don't have an industrial hygienist on staff to explore the data.
Never even thought of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Doesn't usually occur.
Mhm.
So as part of our offering, we basically include like an hour a month of reviewing the data to tell you if we see anything that's a concern. And it's also very easy to set up alerts. So like if you want to be notified when the indoor air quality gets above a certain threshold in a part of the building, that's very easy to do, and we'll just send a little message to your phone. The other thing that we can do is talk to other systems. So, for example, the way I got attached to Pittsburgh was through the Global Clean Energy Action Forum that happened last year.
Sure.
We were invited to exhibit there by the Department of Energy, and the demo that we had was basically hooking our sensors up to a cheap little smart plug from Amazon. So this is a $10 plug. And we had a hairdryer on the booth, and basically you point the hairdryer at the sensor to simulate a hot office, and the smart plug switched on a fan. And so, that's a $10 fix plus the cost of the fan, as opposed to needing a $100,000 building automation system to fix your problem.
Nicholas Napp is our guest, and the product that you're talking about is Nosy, N-O-S-Y.
Yep, that's right.
And as we get ready to conclude our conversation here, how do people find out more about this?
Yeah, so we have a website where you can sign up to get more information. There's a video and there's a description. You see a picture of the device, and that website is whatisnosy.com.
Whatisnosy.com. It's as simple as that. And then we'll direct them how to get in touch with you.
Yep, there's a big contact us button on there, and happy to chat to anybody.
And you come out and you survey the situation and say, you could use one of these here and here and
exactly.
all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and happy to answer questions if people have got general questions or concerns. Very, very happy to.
What is concerning is that you said that if commercial buildings are born before 2010, probably dealing with problems. That's 13 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
I mean,
it flies.
And housing market, there's been a lot of housing boom and building houses and businesses in our area.
Yep.
So a lot of those were built before 2010.
Yeah.
So churches, any place.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it really is. It really kind of blew my mind when I started looking at this, that, the big traditional indoor air quality sensor companies are really not focused on this entire market.
Yeah,
which is crazy.
Well, and of course, once they get the contract to put it in, they put it in and walk away.
Yeah, exactly.
Think about it again.
There's a whole mechanism for big buildings. There are companies called Energy Savings Corporations, ESCOs, that their whole business is to go in and do these big renovation jobs, and it pays for itself out of the energy savings, which is great. But they typically take on projects that are $1 million to $5 million or more, and that's not most of the buildings.
Right. It's a very interesting concept. Thank you for being with us this morning.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Nicholas Napp, and the website once again?
Whatisnosy.com.
Whatisnosy.com. I'm Mike Romigh. This is the Live Mic presented by Heritage Valley Health Systems.
Navigating healthcare can be overwhelming. Heritage Valley is changing that perspective. Our medical neighborhoods provide the personal care you need right where you live and work. Access specialty physicians, lab and diagnostic imaging, rehab, and more in the heart of your community. With 7 convenient locations, we have a medical neighborhood in yours. Heritage Valley, uniquely connected for life.
Legendary radio since 1948. It's 1230 WBVP Beaver Falls and 1460 WMBA Ambridge, coming to you live from the St. Barnabas Studios.
If you have a child in high school thinking about college and don't have an extra $100,000 laying around, listen up. Friendly Federal Credit Union has a very important message. Did you know that a 4-year degree can now cost that much? Well, it's time for you to apply yourself, literally. Personal Signature Loans can help you fund education for your student based on credit approval. Or maybe you need a better job to help pay for all this. Friendly Federal Credit Union can help you there too. Applications are being accepted for teller and loan officer positions. Finally, while at Friendly Federal, have your high school or college age student apply for the Carl D. Ross and Anthony S. Payne Memorial Scholarships. And maybe, just maybe, you won't need that $100,000 for school after all. Visit Friendly Federal Credit Union and apply yourself in many different ways today. Member NCUA, Equal Housing Lender.
Tune in to Teleforum with Eddie Crow, weekdays from 9 a.m. to 12 noon, right here on Beaver County Radio. Eddie has a unique outlook on things, and we'll be discussing the issues that are important to the people of Beaver County. Eddie will also have monthly guests along with other special guests. Curtis Walsh will have news at the top and bottom of the hour, so make sure you tune in to Teleforum with Eddie Crow, weekdays from 9 a.m. to noon, right here on 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, 99.3 and 95.7 FM, and BeaverCountyRadio.com.
Kutch is back with the Bucks, and Beaver County Radio is back for our 75th season of spring training baseball. Set your radio dial to WBVP, WMBA, 99.3 FM or 95.7 FM, and listen to Pirates baseball all spring as Andrew McCutcheon prepares for his triumphant return to the Bucks. Pirates spring training baseball is presented locally by the St. Barnabas Health System and Beaver County Radio, 95.7 and 99.3 FM, 1230 WBVP and 1460 WMBA. Well, we're out of time, and Eddie's coming up next with Teleform.
You're listening to 95.7 FM, 99.3 FM, presented by St. Barnabas, in addition to 1230 WBVP Beaver Falls and 1460 WMBA Ambridge.
Mexican police say they have one suspect in custody. They're hunting for others in the abduction of 4 Americans in Matamoros last week. 2 of the victims were killed, 2 others now in the hospital in Brownsville, Texas. The incident prompting tough talk from some Republicans, including Senator Lindsey Graham.
His comments come after the kidnapping of 4 U.S. citizens south of the border in Matamoros, where they had reportedly traveled to seek medical care. Graham told Fox News he would put Mexico on notice and tell them, quote, "If you continue to give safe haven to drug dealers, then you are an enemy of the United States." Military action in Mexico would require that an authorization for use of military force be passed by Congress and signed by President Biden. Bob Agnew, Capitol Hill.
America's employers kept on hiring last month. Payroll processor ADP reports the addition of 242,000 private sector jobs was more than the 205,000 that many economists had been expecting. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis touting his conservative credentials ahead of an expected presidential run.
In a speech kicking off the Florida legislative session, DeSantis boasted that his governing style and philosophy have made his state #1.
We defied the experts. We bucked the elites.
DeSantis embraced his conservative agenda from tax relief to parents' rights, from immigration to abortion.
We are proud to be pro-family, and we are proud to be pro-life in the state of Florida.
And as he builds momentum for a White House run, DeSantis ended his speech with this:
"You ain't seen nothing yet."
Greg Clugston, Washington.
Forecasters warn of heavy rains on the way to some snowbound areas of California, posing a flooding threat. The latest storm expected to arrive later in the day tomorrow. Wall Street, Dow futures are up 10 points. NASDAQ futures 24 points higher. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Everyone is talking about Jesus Revolution. Witness the untold origin story.
Our country is a dark and divided place, but now there's hope, and it's spreading.
Of the last spiritual awakening in American history.
This is your home, and I want you to tell all your friends about it.
Jesus Revolution, starring Jonathan Romigh and Kelsey Grammer. Rated PG-13. Some material may be inappropriate for children under 13. Jesus Revolution. Only in theaters now.
Relief factor, pain relief that's natural, pain relief that works, and pain relief that attacks the source of the pain. That's the experience of tens of thousands of Americans who are taking Relief Factor right now. See their incredible video endorsements at relieffactor.com and then order your 3-week quick starter pack for just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Find out if it can work for you like it works for me by ordering your 3-week quick starter pack today. relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Be the next success story.
German investigators say they've searched a ship suspected of transporting explosives used to sabotage Russia's Nord Stream 2 pipeline beneath the Baltic Sea last September.
Ever since the Nord Stream pipelines were blown up in an apparent act of sabotage, rumours that this was a state-ordered attack have swirled through Western capitals. Media reports in America and Germany, quoting intelligence sources, now suggest that a pro-Ukrainian group may have been responsible. Earlier, German investigators refused to confirm those reports, but revealed that in January they searched a boat, which they suspect was used to carry explosives to the site of the attack. They're still investigating the identities of the perpetrators and say that at this stage there's no evidence to suggest the involvement of a foreign state.
That's the BBC's Jenny Hill. Tens of thousands marching in Greek cities protesting the deaths of 57 people in a serious train wreck recently in Greece. Townhall.com. It is the latest in a string of accidents involving Norfolk Southern trains. A dump truck and a train collide in Cleveland.
Authorities say the crash happened early Tuesday morning when the dump truck approached a stop sign at the Cliff Cleveland Works steel plant. Cleveland police say the truck, which was carrying limestone, had stopped, moved forward, and hit the front left side of the train as it moved through a crossing. Investigators say the 46-year-old conductor, who was standing on that side, was struck in the collision. He was pronounced dead at the scene a short time later. The National Transportation Safety Board is investigating the collision, which comes just weeks after a fiery train derailment on February 3rd outside East Palestine, Ohio. I'm Mike Hempen.
And again on Wall Street, ahead of this morning's open, stock futures positive now. The S&P futures are up 4 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Beaver County Radio's news source, 95.7 and 99.3 FM, along with 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, and streaming at beavercountyradio.com. Here's Curtis Walsh.
Good morning. We can expect mostly sunny skies today with a high near 43 degrees. We'll have a complete Beaver County radio weather forecast after this look at news. Sandy Giordano reports Amplified Home Healthcare is hosting an Aliquippa community food distribution on Thursday, March 30th at 1 p.m. The event will be held at 483 Franklin Avenue.